Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Everybody, and welcome back to SportsGamer. My name is Toogie, and this is the Wraparound, the show where we take a look at all the goings-on throughout the 5 tiers of the ECL. And it, of course, is playoff season around these parts of ringing in the new year in a big-time way, which means we have a lot to get to in today's edition. Worth noting, of course, because not all the playoff games are played at the same time on the same days. This is being recorded for the morning of Sunday. What even is today's date? The 12th of January. Let's take a look at the top tier. Of course, it is the ECL's highest tier, the Elite Division. And so far this postseason, well, you could take a look. Of course, we have concluded with one of our series. It was Voitimaton pulling off the 5-game victory over Mythics after dropping Game 2, handled their business in the final 3 games, whereas the other 3 series, well, they are still ongoing, and we'll be wrapping up our coverage of each of these series on this upcoming Monday. Hey, you're watching it right now, probably as a preview to Monday's broadcast, Wednesday and Thursday. So by the end of this week, we will know the other 3 teams joining Voitimaton in the Final 4. Parasite up 2-1 on Goons. At times, the games were a little bit closer, but the number 1 seed still looking good. EXEN still having a ton of trouble scoring goals against Tohtorit. And then for the Blackjacks, they had a great chance up 3-0 in Game 2. They were not able to hold on to that win. And now, of course, a disciplinary issue, as you can read about on the website here at sportsgamer.gg, that is taking the key player out of their lineup, that being Kermit, who has been suspended for the rest of this season. So certainly they are up against it. All 3 teams that find themselves trailing currently, well, they have quite the tall task to really come back from here. In terms of the Elite Division scoring, obviously, it's not really too fair right now, is it? Voitimaton, the members of that team having 3 more games played, well, than everybody else, Mythics included as well. So we can't really get too strong of a read on who will be at the top come the end of the first round. I mean, that's when we'll really double check back in next week. Although, need to mention Stammer. 2 games, 2 shutouts against EXEN. He has been outstanding. We'll see what happens with EXEN in terms of, really continuing that series and trying to get the ball rolling. So again, in terms of the Elite Division, well, it's the fastest bit of coverage that we're going to have here in terms of breaking down tier by tier, because that first round is not yet over. But again, we are bringing the rest of the first round to you in this match week. And of course, everything leads to our live final at Assembly in Helsinki in just about a month's time. And of course, a little bit over a month. We're about 5 weeks away, but hey, what are you going to do? Time is weird like that. But anyway, make sure, as always, sportsgamer.gg to check out all the information for everything going on. And, of course, an attendable event at Assembly later on in this season. Again, just a little bit over a month away. But because we don't have too much to talk about with the Elite Division, we get to move over to our second tier. It is the Pro Division, where a lot more progress has been made. And boy, oh boy, has some progress been made. A set of shocking results, to say the least, as D-Lock lose in 7 games to the Herlev Eagles, and No Street Sports knocked out in 6 by SSK Esports. 2 unbelievable upsets. That is the only way to phrase it. Again, just absolutely shocking. I talked about in the playoff preview editions of the wraparound, just that idea of, hey, any of these tiers, you never know what upsets might just happen. But for the fact that you had both number 1 seeds, the top team from each group, fall short, just a crazy turn of events. And again, for the Hervlev Eagles, SSK Esports, phenomenal accomplishment there. And of course, as we look at the other matchup, Zenigame and Isman Valinta winning that set in just 5 games. A great performance from them in the opening round. Poggers handle their business. They are the highest remaining seed left in the playoffs as they eliminate the Old Timers in 5 games. This matchup we get to cover on broadcast. Rooftech knocking out Gotham Knights in 7. So Gotham Knights will not be making it back to the Elite Division, at least for this season. Nova, now they'll say, hey, it was in number only. They don't consider it an upset, but from a numbers standpoint, it is. The 6 seed in Nova knocking out HC Lugano Esports in 6 games. Tohtorit knocking out Björklöven Esport in 5. And then the lone sweep of the first round in the Pro Division, Blackbirds over Aspire. So before we talk about the matchups heading in to the next round, a look at some of the performances here. And if you want to look at someone to perhaps credit for that big-time performance of SSK Esports, full team effort, of course, but Supe was phenomenal. 15 points in the 6 games, although you have to look at Sopoli and Almio as well. 15 points each in 4 games as, again, Blackbirds pulled off the first-round sweep over Aspire. You had Ricardo, it is Ricardo. I always look at it and I'm like, oh, Ricardo 55, but it would still be Ricardo. Nistor still up there for Nova as well. Martindale, a big part of the effort here. Dreamicky, I'm actually not sure. That is a name I haven't had to call out too much, and it shows that, hey, you can talk about the top teams, top players. In terms of the playoffs, it's a different beast, and the Hervlev Eagles very much proved that. Top goal scorer, as you might expect, Zupe was up there with the 8 goals, then Sopoli, Almio, yet again up there, but just some very, very impressive upsets in that first round. Big shout out to King of Apes leading the way amongst defenders. Lorenhavi was up there. Yemu for the Gotham Knights. Good series, not enough to help their team avoid elimination. And for D-Lock, Janza being up there doesn't mean too much, I'm sure, for him at this point, as again, they were knocked out in the first round. For the goaltenders, we primarily look at save percentage around here. It's not everything, but shout out to one Berenitzer. He was phenomenal, 90% save percentage in 6 games. Yonte stepping up for SSK Esports, played 2 games, split result, but great performances there. Hulku up there as well for Isman Valinta, big part of that victory. And that's kind of the theme, right? I said full team effort. You look at someone in terms of the high end of the scoring and, is that the big part of the reason? But no. In the playoffs, it does take that full team effort across the board, and I could continue on just about how stunned I am to see certain teams, especially No Street Sports, after their unbelievable regular season, to be out in round 1 just goes to show the competition level and how difficult it is to find success in the Pro Division postseason. It sets up our quarterfinal matchups, Poggers and SSK. Very intrigued. Again, Poggers, the highest rated seed left, at least from, the standpoint of heading into the playoffs. SSK Esports are going to feel as confident as they ever have. Tohtorit and the Hervlev Eagles going to be a very interesting matchup as well with those 2 teams. And again, for Hervlev, it was one of those things where I think they kind of struggled in the regular season compared to what they were capable of. Maybe an instance of being built for the playoffs. Blackbirds and Isman Valinta, very intrigued by that one, again, with Blackbirds pulling off the lone sweep. And then this matchup here, 11 versus 12, Nova and Rutik. I, at this point in time, do not know what matchup we're covering. I won't be disappointed either way. It's one of those situations where there's just not enough time in the day, and I wish I could cover all these series in full, because the Pro Division playoffs, it is very interesting, to say the least, and it's only going to get more interesting as we continue on down the road. So again, Pro Division very much in the spotlight right now. Some shocking upsets and some very interesting matchups heading in to the quarterfinals We'll move on next to our third tier. It is the light division, as we get a look here at the end of the first round, and of course, a ton of matchups to discuss. Project X, quick work over Coup de Grace to kick things off. Another top seed, Puck over Glass, eliminating German Ice Gladiators in 5. Kikakiria, another sweep. This one over Saucer Hockey. Sune Eco Esport over Technical Disaster in 5. A completely different story here, as you can see, as we go through 5, 6, 7, and 8. Every single one of the higher seeds, Mudu Hockey, Ruti, Kurtamia Vastan, and 6 Sticks Misfits, all advancing. Shout out to Underrated, pushed it to 7 at the very least. We did not get our first upset until Kolakot Esports knocked off Tokuku in 5 games. Mentioned Kolakot as one of those teams where it's like, what are they going to be able to do come playoff time? And well, the answer was a very big first-round upset. Things continued on a positive note for the SSK side of things. Their prospect squad with a sweep over Vitos Vitia. We got another upset, including me winning over Hopsvin Smoothie, easy for me to say, in 6 games, and I still said it wrong. A Squad also fell as another higher seed over the Sanioki Noms in 6 games. Hockey Holics, you could see the back half as the numbers got closer. That's where you started seeing more upsets as HC Videlma knocked out Hockey Holics. You had HC Pustertal Esports surviving. You say surviving, it was a sweep over Ice Baron Lauf Gaming, but when you see, again, some of the upsets that had happened, right, with Hopfin Smoothie, A Squad, Hockey Holics, Macho, a lot of the seeds in a similar standing were knocked off in the first round, so you could say it was surviving, as, again, Macho HC knocked out in 7 by Setelerkiho. That is not the way. I am off on my pronunciations more than normal today. As Setelekerho. There we go. Farmalaget also knocking out Vita in 5 games. So again, a much more consistent performance from some of the top seeds. I cannot speak, but that's okay. We're going to one-take this bad boy at this point. A lot more of a consistent performance from our top seeds in that opening round, but still quite a few upsets. And what a start, Matthias Gamer for Mudo Hockey, 19 points in 6 games. Miklu for including me, and you also had Tizon for Underrated up there as well with the 19 points in 6 to 7 games. For Project X, I mean, Gonsuk up there, 18 points in 4 games. Absolutely phenomenal. Of course, it was a great opening round performance, a dominant opening round performance for Project X. For the defensemen, elite experience in the past, of course, Tansky leading the way in points with 11 in 7 played, every single one of them being an assist. And when you talk about the top goaltenders as well, let's get a look here at some of these numbers, as Masamon was up there for Kurtamia Vastan, 94.37. Tremendous start to the playoffs there. And honestly, quite a few goalies. You had 4 of them, granted, with Fidel, just 2 games played, but 4 goalies at least a 90%. Goes to show, again, it's that full team effort, right? And when the pressure is really on, we have seen some outrageously good goaltending performances throughout the 3 tiers that we have covered thus far. So it sets us up for round number 2. Project X, the number 1 seed, will look to survive a scare that Kolakot Esports could provide, looking for their second upset, including me, Tall Task, taking on Puck Over Glass, Hikakiria and the Seneyoki Noms, Sune Eco Esport and HC Videlma, and of course on the bottom side, Mudu Hockey taking on Setelekerho, Rudy and Farmalaget. You have Kurtamia Vastan and HC Pustertal Esports, and 6 Sticks Misfits and SSK Prospects round out that second round. And I have no prediction for this one. I don't think anybody could feel confident with the prediction in this one, as, well, in theory, again, the top 8 teams in the first round, they all advanced. it's interesting. Will they be able to do what the teams who were knocked out, will they be able to do what they weren't able to do? Or are those lower seeded teams just hot at the right time? And will they be able to pull off those big time upsets? Time will tell as we get into the second round of action in our light division tier. But it's been off to as crazy of a start as I think anybody could have anticipated. That brings us to our third, or to our fourth tier, should I say, our third set of completed playoff games. It is our core division, and obviously a lot more to talk about here. Very similar story as to what we saw in light. The top 8 seeds all moving on, and all doing so with only one team, that being Dynamo HC, being pushed to a Game 7. Technically, it was the top 9, as Cape Town Kings also picked up a win in 5. We had to look all the way down to 10 versus 23. Salasiora pulling off the upset over 10-seeded Sopranos. HC Last Resort, a big win for them. A sweep over Armian Curry. Kopibuti falling in 7 to the Karmadillos. And of course, one more upset, Pulp Odyssey, a sweep over Nordic Nosebleed. But for the most part, the higher seeds got the job done, and got it done in pretty quick fashion for the vast majority of these series. And as we take a look here at the numbers through that opening round of the playoffs, Lutiniemi and Mikihiri leading the way for Latunakat with 25 points and 21 points respectively in just 4 games played, which is outstanding. Then you have the likes of Stu Rules for Skyfall and Marul for the Cost Wolves, both on 21 points each. 2 players that we mentioned throughout the regular season, especially Marul for the Cost Wolves. Harton up there for Dynamo HC, somebody else that we mentioned quite a bit. And a pair of really strong performances for Tarun Gasalit from Polyarzinho and Iotea Lebi as well. When it comes to the defenders, leading the way there, Hagen Hamilton, 17 points in 4 games, and Outbury was up there as well. What an opening round it was for Latunakat. They may just very well be the favorites now moving forward. And of course, with Tiki Taki, you have someone like Nicolas who was up there. It's always interesting to kind of see what players we mentioned throughout the course of the regular season and to see where they ended up come playoff time, and if they were able to repeat those performances. And, you know, for the most part with goalies, we saw some different players taking the big step up. We mentioned Mika quite a bit for Panic on Ice, but there's a lot of names here that were not consistently mentioned throughout the regular season, and now is certainly the time to put some respect on their names here, especially heading into the second round. And again, you can see there, it's just HC Last Resort. With the 2 X's there, got to be honest, not sure how to say the name at the moment. Please inform me, let me know. I always like to get things as close to correctly as I can. Although, hey, we've been struggling today, haven't we? But a 95.4% in 4 games, 4 goals against on 83 shots. That is just an ungodly performance. So certainly going to be keeping an eye out on HC Last Resort. We get to those second round matchups. The Silver Sword Griffins will take on Salasiora. Dynamo HC versus HC Last Resort. That's going to be a very fun series to keep an eye on. Maitoyuna and the Karmadillos, Latunakat and Pulp Odyssey, and of course a bit further down, Tiki Taka and Kella Gold Card HC, Panic on Ice against Rusty X. That's going to be another fun one. Helian and Piku Kaupunki and Tarun Gasalit. You saw the performance of the duo out of Tarun Gasalit. That's going to be a fun one to keep an eye out on too. And then the battle of 8 versus 9, Cost Wolves and the Cape Town Kings. I couldn't pick a winner in that one. Cost was off to such a strong start, of course, and had such a strong regular season. But Cape Town as well might just be one of those teams where it's like, okay, we're not necessarily going to have home ice here, but they could be one of those teams that just very much go on that crazy, crazy run. So that is the stage set for round 2 of our core division, tier 4 of the ECL ladder, which means we have just one tier left to talk about, doesn't it? Hey, the playoff episodes go a little bit faster, of course. especially in these early stages. So hey, it's kind of nice as opposed to some of the hour-long marathons we have trying to cover everything throughout the regular season. Up next, of course, and finally, it is our Neo tier, the new tier, the lowest rated tier that we have here. And yet again, an example of favorites dominating. There were just 2 upsets in this opening round. Of course, best of 5 as opposed to best of 7. The Hannover Indians Esports squad over Red Bull Munich Academy in a sweep. And then we also saw Lassen Lampot over the Flying Elbows in 3 games as well. But aside from that, the top seed won in every single matchup, and not too many games being pushed to the full 5 either. Of course, the Typhon Veterans had a little bit of a scare, and then in the 16 versus 17 matchup, Hawks HC were also pushed to the limit. In terms of what some of these numbers looked like, shout out to Lucas, who we didn't mention, to my recollection at all in the regular season. 21 points in 5 games. Where was that? It might have been there. Just maybe, the numbers were that much higher for some other people in the regular season. Hodja up there for Hawks. You had Patty for Clowns on Ice. Someone like Nikisuki, we did mention quite a bit throughout the regular season. Sebco for Fallen Rangers. And Mesrine Yak was up there as well. Vader for Brothers in Gaming. But case in point, we have some of those guys that were there, consistently mentioned throughout the regular season. But in the playoffs, other players can just take that next step up and take that attention at the right time. Regular season success is nice, but at the end of the day, it is the playoffs, of course, that matter the most. Shout out to Ronku leading the way for defensemen for Casanova with 11 points in 5 games. And, again, another mix. People like Predator mentioned quite a bit, but a lot of these guys, I mean, come on, I would have remembered Steve Geneva, 7 points in 3 games. Well done. And, of course, for the goaltenders, there's more stats than just save percentage, but it is a good indicator in a shorter series. Shout out to the Nordic Knights. I imagine it's Cass. It might be Cass. Let me know. Phenomenal. 92.31%. As opposed to a goalie like Andy Jester, who we saw throughout the regular season. Also, of course, Stevie Harvey for Seattle Kunta. Outstanding. But that's one of my favorite things about these lower tiers, especially. And it really, it can happen in the elite division as well. But in particular with the lower tiers, you just never know what players are going to be like, hey, it's playoffs. I have a second gear to find. I have a third gear to find. Just watch. Second round will be the number 1 seed Fallen Rangers against Hannover Indians Esports. Salsioru taking on Lassen Lampot. Brothers in Gaming going up against Hawks HC. Typhon Veterans and Beastie Boys in the battle of 4 versus 15. And on the bottom side, HC Wolves and Nordic Macabre. Veljaskunta HC and Nordic Knights. The Worn Out Wise Men take on Casanova. And Clowns on Ice against the Vitapoja Vikings. So continue to keep an eye out on that. I think, despite the faster nature to a pre-produced video like this compared to the regular season, where, again, we're throwing a lot of stats out there, it's worth, shining that spotlight on the key performers as well as we get a look at the stats of the opening round. But it just goes to show, again, that playoffs, an entirely different beast. We talked about some of the success of the top seeds a bit further down. Pro Division, both number 1 seeds eliminated in the first round. That is what makes things here in the ECL so exciting. But hey, that will do it for this one. It feels like we were in fast forward today, but I am perfectly okay with that because it means we are one step closer to getting back into the playoff action. Again, finishing up with the quarterfinal round in the Elite Division, but every other league or every other tier within the ECL into the second round of action. So as always, sportsgamer.gg to keep your eye out on everything going on. And until next time, thank you all for joining me. I'll see you next week to talk about, heading in to those third and crucial rounds throughout these 5 tiers.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Might be having some audio issues. Are we good? We're good. Hi, audio issues be damned. It's a brand new week here at SportsGamer, which means it's time for a new and exciting edition of technical issues. But we are back again with our continued coverage of the ECL's Elite Division post-season. And Major, today we finish off this quarterfinal matchup between Tohtorit and EXEN. We'll be covering the remainder of this series here today. Whether it goes to 7 games or continues at this pace, could be a short broadcast day for us here.
Yeah, always great to be back into the booth with you, Tugi. And as you mentioned, is it going to be the same that we saw last week, which was Tohtorit shutting out EXEN in both games, or we have something a little bit different? Does EXEN find their groove a little bit and kind of adjust from what we saw from them a week ago? It's going to be really, really interesting, especially considering that Tohtorit kind of won with their goaltending and their defense. EXEN seemed like they started to find chances, but just could not find the back of the net. This game 3, I think, is going to go a long way towards seeing just kind of the way the series goes. And as you mentioned, potentially whether we have a broadcast of 5 games or a broadcast of 2. So we'll definitely see what happens.
With that, let's take a look at the playoff bracket to see where things stand up to this point. Again, we have seen the conclusion of one of our playoff series so far. That was the battle of 4 versus 5 as Voitematon knocked out Mythics in 5 games. Of course, our other 3 series we will be wrapping up here this week. Of course, continued coverage on Wednesday and Thursday with those final 2 series. But Tohtorit up 2-0 on EXEN, and as Major alluded towards, major issues for EXEN in the goal scoring department. As we throw it over to the team stats so far for this matchup, it has been, well, a couple of close games. As you can see, just 3 goals scored in the first 2 games of this series. But Major, all 3 for Tohtorit.
Yeah, 2-0 victory and a 1-0 victory for Tohtorit, with that 1-0 victory coming in double overtime. So it kind of goes to show you that goal scoring has been, not highly available for either team, but EXEN especially just not able to find the back of the net. I mean, Tugi, you go back and look at those first 2 games specifically. I mean, EXEN, they had 15 shots compared to Tohtorit's 8 in the 2-0 loss. And then in the 1-0 loss, 19 shots compared to Tohtorit's 13. They also had 18 minutes of time on attack compared to 9 in that game. And in that 2-0 game, they had 2:34 time on attack compared to 6 minutes. So it's not been from a lack of trying. It hasn't been from a lack of opportunity. They just can't seem to find those high quality chances that can beat Stammer in this Tohtorit defense. So that's going to be definitely priority number 1 for EXEN. Well, I'm sure Tohtorit are going to want to try to find a little bit more goal scoring, obviously. But hey, if you don't allow the opponent to score, it doesn't matter how much you score as long as you get one in there. So going to be interesting to see how much these 2 sides have adjusted compared to a week ago.
Well, let's take a look at the lineups for this one heading in to the conclusion of this series. No changes in case you caught the first 2 games last week. For EXEN, we have Landstrom, Mosia, and Pikari with Domi and Wenger on defense, and Bennu between the pipes on the other side. Well, in fairness, the one change in goal there nearly caught me off guard. It did catch me off guard, I should say. Oyala, Harlow, and Profilipaki on the other side, the forwards of Tohtorit with Karkas and Segasormi, and of course, Stammer in goal. So, hey, we'll get to talking about that lone change in the lineup in a moment. But first, the center comparison here. Moja and Harlow going head-to-head in this one. Obviously, Major, we're not going to have any points to talk about when it comes to any of the players on the EXEN side of things. But the key here, the face-offs. Moja needs to find a way to make that number a heck of a lot closer than what it's been so far.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for him, and I mean, it was a struggle for him in the regular season too, where he was at 44% and Harlow was at 54, but it's been very glaring, it feels like, so far in the series, and if you're not gonna be able to score goals consistently, you've at least gotta keep the other team from being able to get those extra possessions, so that face-off percentage going to be very, very huge, but you talk about Harlow, he's not really someone we've talked about a whole lot in the series, but he has 2 of the 3 Tohtorit goals, and therefore, he has 2 to 3 goals scored in this series. So someone that has been able to kind of step up and be an impact. And he's a center that has stepped up a little bit throughout this season. Had 40 points, 17 goals in the regular season and 28 games played. Maybe not someone that is instantly popping up in your mind as a dynamic goal scorer, but he's proven to be a very, very key part of the series and arguably Totorit's second or third best player so far through 2 games.
And for Harlow as well, I mean, he had the fewest goals out of the three forwards in the regular season. So you get a guy like that going. That's only good news. We look at the wingers here next. Landstrom and Pikari for EXEN against Oyala and Pro Filipaki. And, you know, in terms of the lack of goals made in a lot of ways, it's not for a lack of trying. 27 shots combined for the wingers of EXEN.
Yeah, and I think Lundstrom is the one that I really kind of circle around and feel like he could definitely have at least 2 or 3 goals. I mean, you see the 16 shots, and I don't remember if it was game 1 or game 2, but I mean, Tuki, we were just looking at it and we were like, man, what does this guy have to do to get a puck in the back of the net? I mean, it seemed like he was in good position. He was getting plenty of opportunities. He just couldn't find a way to beat Stammer. Every single puck he put on net just somehow, some way would not fully cross that red line. And it's just one of those things to where sometimes you have days like that. I think last Monday was just kind of one of those days for Lundstrom. But if there's anyone that I think could very well step up and maybe change the momentum in this series for Exum, I think it's got to be him. But then you look at Oyala and Profilipaki on the other side, 2 wingers that have been very, very good for Tohtorit. They've been a dynamic duo for this team for 2 straight seasons now. This is one of 2 teams, Tugi, that didn't make any changes to their lineup from last season to this season, the other one being Mythics. So it's not surprising to see these 2 step up because they are good players. They do play well with each other, but I'm going to be interested to see if they can maybe up the goal scoring a little bit more than what we saw. Because don't get me wrong, being up 2-0 is great, but I still feel like Tohtorit on the offensive end still a little bit to be desired from what we saw last week.
We have the defensive comparison up next, as well as it is Domi and Wenger against Garcus and Segasormi. Now, Major, you know, we've talked about, right, the lack of scoring for the Exen side of things so far. It is just very surprising to me, though, because you would think an offense would be essentially be able to go all out and do what they need to do to get points on the board when you have a defense combination like this. I mean, in terms of championships won, this might be the most prolific defense pairing in the elite division right now. I'm struggling to think of another one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the second closest would be the Parasite defensive pair of
Yeah, that's
Tombo
fair.
and Temu, but I mean, even those 2, I don't think that they have as many championships combined as Domi and Wenger. So I think you're right on that. This is probably, in terms of defensive pairs, this is the most championships that you have on a D pair, and yet they have not been able to really get much of anything going. And you look at the other side, Carcass and Sega Stormy, they've been really good as well. I know a lot of the love and a lot of the attention goes to Stammer because of the 2 shutouts, and Stammer has been absolutely phenomenal, but a goalie can only do so much without a really good defensive pairing in front of them. And Carcass and Sega Stormy, at least for my money, might be the most underrated defensive pairing in the league when it comes to being really shut down and limiting opportunities. And the thing about Carcass, for those that were not with us on last week's broadcast, there are also not any defensemen in the league that handled the puck as much as Carcass. He was the only defenseman in the division that had the puck on his stick for more than 200 minutes. And the closest player next to him had 33 minutes less. So it's really crazy that you have a defenseman that can not only defend well, but also has so much responsibility with the puck on the offensive end. This battle between these 2 defensive pairings is so fun to watch, but I do agree with you. Domi and Wenger have got to find the way to reach that next level. There's too much history, there's too much pedigree from both these 2 guys to be in this situation. They've got to find a way to elevate their game and step this thing up for Exum.
And again, it brings us to our final head to head, which features the lone lineup change as Kazu is out. They continue with the 50-50 split that they have throughout the season. It will be Bennu in between the pipes here for EXEN. Stammer on the other side. Now that 0% save percentage, well, maybe that's actually because that's a 100% save percentage yet to be beat in this series. He has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, nothing short of spectacular really has Stammer been throughout this series. We've seen him so many times step up for this Tohtorit team, not just in this series, but in the regular season as well. Definitely, I think, a shoe-in to be a candidate for goaltender of the year here in just about a month. But nevertheless, I mean, a 15-shot shutout where you were constantly under duress, and a 19-shot shutout to where you were even under more duress in game two. Just absolutely spectacular. And I think EXEN is just going to try to hope and pray that they can find something to beat this guy. But we know what Bennu has been able to do too. We've seen Bennu at the big stage. We've seen him win a championship with tunnel vision and be in this moment before. I don't think this says anything about Kazu and what he was able to do. I thought Kazu played really well for this EXEN team last week. But at the end of the day, we've talked about it, that goalie split. You never really know what you're going to get or what could potentially change the momentum. And all EXEN knows is that they've got to try to find a way to change something. And at the end of the day, Bennu is a championship winning goaltender. You don't just not put him in where your season is on the line. So, nothing against Kazu. I think he definitely played well, and the substitution doesn't have anything to do with his performance. It's just the pedigree of Bennu and what we've seen him be able to do on the stage gives him that leg up to get the call here today.
So we are just a few moments away from the action beginning here, or should I say continuing, as this series, again, will wrap up here on this broadcast. Game 3 coming up. We'll see how much of a fight EXEN can put up, as, again, they have struggled throughout this season to score goals. It's an issue that's carried into the postseason now, and they are running out of time to figure out a solution. You get a look at the teams in the lobby here. No real surprise. I mean, Major, it's a mirror match, at least in terms of the the X factors that we have here, the superstar abilities. There's some differences here and there, but similar styles going head to head. We'll see again if EXEN can find a way to solve Stammer. That is obviously the key for them in this series, right? We knew it heading into it. They need to find a way to score goals. They haven't been able to do so. And of course, it's going to be very difficult to win a playoff series without scoring any goals.
Yeah, and you have to remember that this is an EXEN team that, despite finishing the season with 2.32 goals for and just being, I think it was around 11th in the league, once upon a time they were well under 2 goals for just before the last week of the season. They were dead last. Only Reniscore had been around their area at around 1.74. That went up with the way they played with the last week and a half of the season, but a lot of the teams they played were against non-playoff teams, so they've yet to really show that they can find that goal scoring ability against teams in this bracket. Like you said, Tugi, if there's any time for them to find it, it's got to be today.
Here we go. Game number 3 of this best of 7 series is underway. Tohtorit up 2-0 in the series. Of course, we are watching from their perspective here, the home side for this game as the puck sent back to the points. See what they are able to do here. Back off. EXEN try to get going down the other way. Domi looking to lead the charge. Lundstrom in the corner. Back to Wenger at the point. Domi again. Working with Mozia. One-timer, they score! I don't think you could ask for a better start for EXEN in this game. Major, where has that been? A picture-perfect cycle to start off this game.
Where has that been for the last 2 months, Tugi? I mean, that is a perfect play from EXEN. A beautiful cycle, as you mentioned. Peter able to create that space, gets wide open. We talked about the abilities, that 1T ability over on that right side for EXEN, coming in clutch right there. And man, that is exactly what the doctor ordered for EXEN after, I mean, what had it been, over 160 minutes without a goal for EXEN in this series? They finally are able to break through. That is the exact start they needed to find their mojo and maybe get things back into their way in the series.
One shot, one goal. It will not be third shutout for Stammer in 3 games played. See if Tohtorit can find a response here. Still plenty to be played here in this game. Plenty of time to go, but EXEN finally getting their first goal as a shot fired from the point just wide by Segasorn.
And if I'm Tohtorit, I want to keep the pressure on right now. I wouldn't want EXEN feeling comfortable and feeling that confidence, because remember who these guys are, multi-time champions.
A save there by Stammer, another one-timer for Peakery, but good stop there, and start talking about that momentum, Mage. I mean, another goal or two here for EXEN. All of a sudden, this entire complexion of this series changes.
Yeah, and that's why I think this next goal is really critical. If I'm Tohtorit, I am chomping at the bit to try to get it. Get that momentum back on your side.
Down low, kick back to the point. Marcus fires one on, deflects, picked up by Domi. Rolling towards goal. Passes off the mark. Tohtorit back in possession. A forecheck here from EXEN. Wenger steps up. They keep possession alive. Peakery the spin. Loose puck. Finally settled down here for Tohtorit. Domi able to recover. Had a bit of a contested play there, but EXEN back in possession. Get back into the attacking zone they do with Landstrom. This pass for Peakery, a buffered shot. Didn't get all of it. Tohtorit having to be very careful here on these zone exits. A very high press from EXEN, and they win it back again. Bouncing puck, and ultimately it is offside here, but this has been a tremendous start to the series for EXEN.
Yeah, it looks like a much different team from what we saw a week ago. And like we said, it's not like they didn't have opportunities a week ago and didn't have possession time. It's just the quality wasn't really there. It's been quality so far for EXEN on both sides, offensively and defensively.
Another one-timer for Peakery, finding space. Great save. Getting Stammer beat on the first shot. A couple big saves since. Peakery tried the sneaky pass. That one picked off.
Those are the creative plays, though, from EXEN that we did not see in those first 2 games. That's encouraging to see them doing that.
3 down low. Keeps the puck down low. Double team pressure here. They have it. Peakery, another shot. Entered play with 11 shots in the 2 games played. And Mage, I mean, he's on pace to at least equal that total by the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, he got that first goal to start the game, and he's been chomping at the bit since, trying to get another one. And you need someone to step up for EXEN. Why not be someone that was arguably the MVP of the finals just a season ago for Tunnel Vision?
This movement here around the point. Good poke check by Oyala. Knock that one free. Man, what a start for Domi and Wenger defensively here. Tohtorit still held without a shot on goal, and I can only recall one shot attempt. Another one-timer blocked down. Continue to look for Peakery. There's a one-timer on the fly. Great breakup by the defense. Denied Profilipaki the opportunity. And 30 seconds of the opening period here. It has been all EXEN. Oyala has it knocked away. Gets it back. 3 seconds left. One-timer from the point. Glove save. And that will do it. Just one stop needed for Benno. It was a tough one at the end. But EXEN have the opening goal. This one-timer from Peakery.
Yeah, and on a beautiful set play. First shot of the game, first possession of the game. And EXEN took full-on advantage of it. But, you know, Tugi, I think the thing that's so impressive really about what we're seeing from EXEN is that it's not just Peakery, it's not just 1 or 2 guys. All 5 are really stepping up and making an impact in this game in a positive way for EXEN. I mean, you talk about how they've looked for Peakery so many times. We've seen Landstrom get a couple of opportunities in there. I mean, we talked about the face-offs and how big that was. Those are 3 out of 6 so far, so not too bad in the face-off department. And then the defensive pairing of Wenger and Domi have been absolutely spectacular so far. We said during the pregame that if there were two players that were going to really need to step up and lift this EXEN team up a little bit, it was going to have to be those two. And it's not that they were bad in those first two games, but this series has just been a little bit different for EXEN. It's a little bit different for both Wenger and Domi and what they're used to. They're used to winning these quarterfinals rather handedly, and that's just not been the case this time around. You need those guys to be able to step up and elevate that next level. So far through the first period, they've answered that challenge.
Second period underway. As always, the action brought to you by our friends at Kovalan Lockritzy. It is game number 3 of this quarterfinal matchup, the opening round of the Elite Division playoffs. Tohtorit up 2-0 in this best of 7 against EXEN. We'll be covering the rest of this series here on this broadcast. And well, EXEN has done a good job so far trying to extend the series as much as they can. And Tohtorit be short-handed here unless EXEN find the back of the net. Delayed call. Lundstrom. Back down for Moja. Was he slashed? There might be 2 penalties here. Trip at the very least on Harlow heading to the box, and it looks like they got away with the other one. Indeed, it'll be just a 5-on-4 power play.
Yeah, just the 5-on-4, and something else EXEN is going to have to improve on this series is their power play. Second worst power play in the league in the regular season at 15.4%. The only team worse than them, ironically, was Tohtorit, so they're going to have to try to find a way to capitalize on the man advantage.
As Wenger has it knocked away back to the neutral zone by Oyala. No need for Wenger. Bakery wanted to go across for Lundstrom. Arcus, great job getting that back to the neutral zone. Moshe drops for Wenger. Only for Lundstrom. Good block by the defense. Chipped out. Goes back towards the blue line. Domi a little bit of trouble. Vegasormi this time off his own man in front. Back to the neutral zone. 30 seconds left on the power play. EXEN. And it gets set up again. They want those one-timers. For Domi, Lundstrom. We go back to the point, taken away. We are back to 5-on-5. That shot blocked. As Oyala elects not to go the big pass to Harlow, and they'll reset.
Good penalty kill, though, for Tohtorit. They could not afford to allow that second goal. Great job of them killing that off, but they've got to find a way to get some offense going on the other side. There's been nothing so far in this game for them.
Another failure to clear. A little bit of trouble in front. Filipaki will slow it down. Vegasormi. Great timing on that play. Wenger's going to get called for a hold. Tried to make a play on that dump and chase. Marcus in front. Loose puck kept out by Bennu with Filipaki on the doorstep. Extra attacker is out there as we hit the halfway point of the period. Still a delayed call here. And the Gilroy thing really caught me off guard. But it is a penalty here. Again, Wenger heading to the box.
Yeah, and you mentioned it was on that hold trying to chase for that dump play, and unfortunately just a little bit too physical there on that play. But this is a big opportunity for Tohtorit. We just mentioned how EXEN's power play was second worst in the league. Tohtorit's was the worst in the league at just under 13%. So if there was any time for Tohtorit to find their rhythm on the power play, it would need to be now, or they have a chance to tie this game 3 with a 2-0 series lead.
Indeed, see this power play go to work. Filipaki. Oyala back to him. Again to the slot. Arcus couldn't get a ton on that shot. Arcus, another opportunity blocked down by the traffic in front. Power play. Halfway through, one-timer from distance. Good stop by Bennu, and the puck is cleared.
Just look how calm EXEN was, too, on that penalty kill. They barely really moved at all in terms of their positioning. They kind of just allowed Tohtorit to move it around the outside, and it never really gave them a good look at Bennu.
And a few seconds of the man advantage. We are back to 5-on-5. The feed in front goes all the way through. held up. Oyala. Back for him. One timer and another save by Bennu, as Tohtorit getting some shots here in this period, but still yet to solve the second goaltender that they've faced.
And remember, we talked about the faceoffs, and that's a smart move from EXEN. They're going to go ahead and take the timeout. I was just going to mention, we've talked about the faceoffs and how Mozja for EXEN has really struggled at the dot. Well, Tohtorit, if they had won that faceoff without that timeout, more than likely they're going to see themselves get that full pressure opportunity with how long they had it in the offensive zone. So a smart move there from EXEN to call the timeout and kill off that meter.
We'll get ready for the continuation here. Still a 1-0 lead for EXEN. Face off, scramble for it, but they're in control. As Wenger goes for the dump and chase play, Lundstrom's there. Tried the wraparound after he got the puck back from Mozja. Tohtorit back in control. Still a higher press here for EXEN. Oyala trying to find space. Can't do so. Omi can't hold it. That one tipped off the back glass.
EXEN still hasn't registered a shot on net yet this period. They had 4 in the first period, and they're still at 4 right now, nearing the end of the second.
Vegasormi not able to feed that one through. Final minute of the second. Excuse me, as we wait to see if there is a next goal in this game. I mean, the first 2 games of this series would indicate this very well could be the final score. 2 seconds. Oyala has it knocked away, and that will do it. So despite the fact that EXEN didn't really get much going in that period, they still maintain the 1-0 lead. Thanks to this man right here.
Yeah, and really not a whole lot that happened in that period either. I mean, there were the 2 power plays, but EXEN didn't get anything going on there. Tohtorit had a couple of shots, but nothing really overly dangerous outside of maybe that one-timer that they had over on the right side. But aside from that, there really just wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. It felt like things had kind of just reached a bit of a stalemate. And then, as you mentioned, a few big saves there from Bennu in that period as well. Had 3 shots, all of them, relatively decent chances, some better than others, but like that shot right there, probably the best opportunity, and Bennu able to just slide across over to that right side to not allow that puck that was sitting there to be tapped in on him. So overall, a pretty tame period, I guess would be the best way to put it. But if you're EXEN, you still kind of have to feel a little bit discouraged. You had that first shot and first goal, but ever since then, and ever since that first period, just not really a whole lot happening for them. While for Tohtorit, if they can get that tying goal, it feels like all of a sudden you're right back to where you were in the last 2 games.
We are ready for the third period. See now, is it going to be Tohtorit that's going to have trouble finding the back of the net in this series? Still looking for their first goal of this game. First shot of the game resulted in our only goal thus far. Offside there for EXEN.
And you wonder in a game like this, what is it going to take to find that next goal? Is it going to take just one mistake, or is it going to take just trying to put that puck on net? And we've seen both sides kind of trying to find that perfect opportunity. Both teams really trying to go for that one-time play, and it hasn't been there a whole lot of the time, other than really once or twice. And I guess right now, if you're Tohtorit, when do you start to adjust? When you're EXEN, when do you start to adjust? Because that next goal, if we end up getting it, could very well be a dictator in the way this game is decided.
High up off the draw. Lead in control. Going here through the neutral zone. Go for the puck. The wrap around, not able. Only on goal. Oyala, short side, stopped by Bennu. He has it poked away from him. Still not able to get much offense outside of that first period. Oyala off the profile. Pocky down he goes. It'll be Moja heading to the box for tripping. Opportunity again for Tohtorit. Major the second power play of the game.
The second power play, remember, Moja is the center for EXEN, so that means that's going to slot Peekity over at that center spot now, who, by the way, has some history of playing center, was the starting center for Tunnel Vision last season, so he's not bad at the dot, but obviously the attributes a little bit different for wingers at face-off, so we'll see how that impacts things.
Clean win for Harlow. Back to Oyala at the point. Both defenders the ones down low here. Hockey stepping in, the feed in front. Bouncing puck, tries the short side. A little bit of trouble for Bennu, but he is able to cover. Close call.
Yeah, and you mentioned the defense kind of rotating more over to that winger spot offensively. I saw that a little bit on the first power play, too. Looks like they're really trying to set up that one-timer over to Sega Stormy on the right side.
Full pressure here for Tohtorit. Oyala wanted to go back to Pro Filipaki. A crucial pickoff for Lundstrom.
Massive, right when Tohtorit had that full pressure, too. That is a huge, huge dump.
Harlow tried the feed in front, doesn't find its way through. Shot opportunity doesn't go. Final moments of the man advantage. Hockey shot deflected. Second chance off the outside of the post. Another successful kill for EXEN.
And now in probably Tohtorit's best opportunity right there. They have full pressure and EXEN able to dump it out right now. Aside from the goal from Peekity, obviously, to start this game, that might be the biggest play of the evening so far.
Anchor back down for Peekary. Wanted to go to the point. Puck goes all the way down. And Bennu, a little bit of trouble there. It ended up open in the crease off of an awkward bounce. For a moment, it didn't look like he knew where the puck was.
I don't know if you heard a gust of wind outside your window, Tootie, but that was a sigh of relief from Bennu. It came all the way over to the States. That was insanely dangerous right there.
Over the line again. Final half of this period. Tohtorit running out of time. They tried the feed in front. EXEN get it back. Moja. EXEN still looking for their first shot on goal in a long, long time at this point.
Still haven't had one since the first period. They're still stuck at 4.
For the hockey. Good patience down low, ends up going to Carcass at the point. Deep pass, Profilipaki shot, locked down, bouncing puck, Harlow, wrap around, kept out. Great opportunity again, another big save by Bennett.
And Tohtorit, they're starting to find their game, but they're going to have to ramp up the aggression. You see them forechecking now. They've got to try to force something here.
The broken stick on the one-timer. Frustration has to be mounting for Tohtorit. Space here for EXEN. Short side attempt. Big glove save by Stammer to keep this game within reach.
And Toogie, the crazy part about this game is that, if I'm correct, that is EXEN's first shot on net in about 40 minutes of play. That is absolutely insane that they are still up 1-0 and they haven't registered a single shot in almost 40 minutes. I mean, it just kind of goes to show you what their defense has been able to do, as well as what Bennu has been able to do on the goaltending side of things. But that right there, that was their best chance so far. That wraparound attempt that Bennu was able to get that right toe on and keep it out. And you just wonder, with time starting to thin, not a lot of opportunity, could that have been Tohtorit's best chance of tying this game up at 1 apiece?
Soft win for Moja, but Tohtorit back in control. Not able to break through. Filipaki back to Carcass at the point. Fake the shot, intentionally or not. Still has control. One-timer, loose puck in front, still kept out.
And that was a save there from Bennu. Unreal the way he was able to outstretch that there.
There's the great equalizer, perhaps. Poked away by Domi. Final minute of regulation here as Lundstrom steps in for EXEN. Hold on to it through the double team. Miscommunication there. No icing. As Wenger wraps around, Lundstrom takes the hit. Oyala for Harlow. Short side. Stopped by Benu. Again in control. Wanted the short side. Lost it. Lundstrom back in possession here. 22 seconds left now. Oyala for Harlow. Back to Oyala. EXEN not able to clear. Shot on. Saved and covered by Benu. 11 seconds to go. And here comes the aggression from Tohtorit, and rightfully so. Empty net. It's all or nothing here.
And you got to have a play set up here. You see they're switching up the face-off formation too. Let's see what they got.
High up off the draw. Scramble for the puck. Tohtorit can't clear the zone. Oyala can't get a shot off. Final few seconds. And what a reversal of fortunes from being shut out over the first two games. EXEN score on the first shot of the game, and that is enough as Benu steps into the series and records the shutouts.
This series has been just wild in the weirdest way possible. I mean, 3 games, 3 shutouts, one of them a 2-0 shutout, another one a 1-0 shutout that went into double overtime, and now a 1-0 shutout again where the first shot of the game is the game-winning goal. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I mean, it's just nuts how the defense and the goaltending have really just kind of started the show for this series. And, you know, obviously I know that there's been a little bit of ineptitude offensively. That's honestly probably the best way I can put that, but the defense and goaltending has still been superb nevertheless, because Tohtorit had a lot of chances there at the end of this game, and I think they really played well. They played well in that third period, but Benu was just a man to not be denied. Every single time it felt like that goal was going to come, he just didn't let it happen, and EXEN didn't have but one shot in the final 40-plus minutes of play, and that was still enough, Toogie. It was still enough from the steal game in this series. And now we have a game 4 coming up to where it's completely changed the complexion. You go from potentially a situation where it's 3-0 and you're just kind of saying, okay, when is EXEN going to be eliminated? To now you're in a situation where, man, if EXEN can somehow steal this next game, they've got a series all of a sudden. So really, really interesting how the first shot of the game is the only goal we get, and that one shot has completely flipped the narrative of this entire series on its head.
Benu had 2 shutouts in the regular season, gets his first playoff start of this series. And what a save there. One of many in the game. That gets EXEN right back into the series, Major.
Yeah, and I mean, you see it right there. It was 5 shots on net in that third period for Tohtorit, and I mean, pretty much all of them were high-quality chances that Benu just had to step up and make a big save on a lot of them. After that second power play, I felt like that second power play really gave Tohtorit a little bit of a charge, and EXEN, who really hadn't had much offense throughout this game outside the first period, just didn't have much response to it other than Benu and other than their defense really stepping up and making plays. I mean, here's another opportunity really close in where Benu just had to step up and make a big save. So for the third straight game, defense and goaltending prevails, and all of a sudden, Toogie, we've got a series on our hands.
Well, with that, again, game 3 is in the books. Game 4 coming up in a matter of moments. We'll see if EXEN really can flip the script and tie this series up. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
With Moja, one-timer, they score!
Hopping at the bit to try to get that momentum back on your side.
Down low, kick back to the point. Marcus fires one on, deflects, picked up another one-timer for Peakery, finding space. Great save. Continue to look for Peakery. There's on one-timer on seconds left. One-timer from the point. Glove save. And that will do it. Lundstrom. Back down for Moja. Was he slashed? There might be 2 penalties here. Neutral zone. Moja drops for Wenger. Only for Lundstrom. Blocked by the defense. Just held up. Oh, yellow. Back for him. One-timer and another save. Point both defenders, the ones down low here. Hockey stepping in, the feed in front. Bouncing puck, tries the short side. A little bit of pressure here for Tohtorit. Oyala wanted to go back to Filipaki. Back down for Peakery. Wanted to go to the point. Puck goes all the way down. And Danu, a little bit of trouble there. It ended up opening. Going to Carcass at the point. He passed. Filipaki shot.
Tohtorit, they're starting to find their game, but they're going to have to ramp up the aggression. You see them forechecking now. They've got to try to force something here.
The broken stick on the one-timer. Frustration has to be mounting for Tohtorit. Space here for EXEN. Short side attempt. Big glove. Filipaki back to Carcass at the point. Fake the shot, intentionally or not. Still has control. One-timer, loose puck in front. Still kept out. EXEN not able to clear. Shot on, saved, and covered by Bennu. A reversal of fortunes from being shut out over the first 2 games or on the first shot of the game, and that is enough as Bennu steps into the series and records the shutouts.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
And we are back, everybody, and as you can see, the action just about ready to continue. It is game number 4 here in this best-of-7 series. EXEN right back into the conversation. Home side here in this one, a 1-0 victory in game 3. Finally scored their first goal of the series, and it was enough to get the win. See what happens here in game 4. Still a lot of work to do. Early offside for Wenger.
Yeah, a lot of work to do, as you mentioned, too. Just one shot in the last 40 minutes of that game 3 for EXEN, despite getting that 1-0 victory. So, you know, great that they were able to get that one win, but still a lot of the same issues that have plagued them all season long popping up here in this series. They're still going to have to find a way to mitigate that a little bit, and Tohtorit now going to have to find a way to get their offense going a little bit too.
Back to the point, Wenger. Only as they continue to time an eye up, quality chance on the Wenger. A nice little surprise shot from the point. Forces the save out of Stammer, but no 1-for-1 kick off this game this time. Lundstrom tried to go across. Good job there by Segasormi. Get away. One-timer there. Filipaki and a good stop from Bennu as both goalies making a strong save to kick off this game.
Yeah, now it's a quick one-time shot there with that glove save from Bennu, and Those are the plays that both Tohtorit and EXEN have really looked for a lot. They're trying to find that one-time play, and for the most part, it hasn't really been there. But whenever it has, both goaltenders have done a really good job of reading it and making that save.
Throw for the Pocky. Going to make plays on the puck. EXEN able to get it back. Then get it back to the forehand. Nope. Back on the boards. Good pick off there by Carcass. Oyola not able to get that shot off. Trouble there for EXEN to try to get established. Already halfway through this period here. Get that controlled break-in going, not able to do so. Up into the far side. Oyola lets it go, gets it back. That shot blocked. Or not, generated a good look. From Domi. Loja. Held to the outside. Shot there. Good stop by Stammer. Down the other way. By Benno on the other side. Oyola still battling here in the corner. Storming the pro for the Pocky. Supposed to do a mirror match here in this one. One timer from distance. Not much on it. Accuracy off as well. 3 minutes to go.
You kind of mentioned it too. Really not a lot separating either of these two teams right now. They're just kind of mirroring each other, both offensively and defensively. Both sides have just 2 shots. Both sides are kind of struggling to break it past the neutral zone consistently. And really neither side has had an overly dangerous opportunity other than their first shot of the game. So it's kind of interesting how these two teams that have been relatively inseparable from one another throughout the series continue to be here in this game number 4. It feels like we're going to have a lot of the same throughout the series, no matter how long it goes.
Face off and a clean win for Harlow. Minutes left in the period. Time that zone entry. They are offside. Shot there. What a stop by Stammer. The opportunity out of nowhere and a phenomenal save. Highlight of the series so far. Wraparound bid for Lundstrom. More chance. That one goes wide. And a flurry of offense from EXEN at the final moment of that period. But Stammer up to the task.
Yeah, that play came really out of nowhere. Just all of a sudden, EXEN able to split the defense and get a breakaway on Stammer. You see the replay right there. Chose go forehand. Didn't even look like Stammer thought that he was going to go forehand. But was just in enough of a position to get that save. Keeps this game at bay, and man, oh man, that was a close look there for EXEN. Then another opportunity there late as well, as you mentioned. So a nice way for EXEN in the period, while Tohtorit thanking their goaltender and thanking their lucky stars that this game is still tied heading into period 2.
All of a sudden, now, Midges, we get a look here again. That chance out of nowhere, essentially, as both teams were doing a good job of, patrolling blue lines. The story now, though, getting a little bit interesting here, isn't it? As suddenly Tohtorit's team struggling to find the back of the net at 4 periods without a goal.
Yeah, and we talked about it. They weren't really, scoring at a high rate in the first 2 games. 2 goals in game 1, 1 goal in game 2 that came in double overtime. So it's 2 teams that have struggled offensively, but that was a pretty move right there. Maybe that can get them going.
Stop there by Benno. Of course, second period underway. As always, the action brought to you by our friends at Ovalan Lockertzy. Game number 4. And this best of 7 again will be with this series until its conclusion here tonight. He's down the other way. Bakery wanted the short side. Good stop by Stammer. That one sent to the other side. And here, back to the point. Wenger. EXEN still trying to find some space here. High danger areas. Necessarily finding it through the cycle. Blocked by Oyala. He'll be dealing with an injury next couple of minutes. Teams like this, you start to say, hey, all shots are good shots, and it might be worth looking at those types of opportunities, but are these two teams the most likely to adapt and change it up in that way? Well, not necessarily.
I feel like after a while, you might not have a choice, though. If you want to separate yourself in this series, somebody's going to have to try to make that adjustment. But again, you have two teams that are very similar in play style and two teams that have kind of committed to their play style over the season. So you don't really know if that adjustment's going to come or if it's just going to be these two teams being content with their play style and just kind of hoping that enough pucks kind of fall their way. But if you want to separate yourself in this series, sometimes it takes that risk in trying to switch it up a little bit to give yourself that extra leg up.
Good protection. Harlow scores! A top shelf snipe out of nowhere, and Tohtorit have the breakthrough here in the second period.
And how about the play from Oyala, that little pivot that he did right there that created that space. You see all three defenders in the area are just right in front of the net because Oyala drew them in there. He's able to dump that back to the skater behind him. I'm honestly really surprised that that shot went in because it looked like Bennu had that pretty well covered. I mean, he was right there with it. He was holding his glove side pretty well. I thought the shot was going to go towards that shorthand side over at the blocker, but was able to just sneak that in with Profile Hockey, and all of a sudden, we have our first goal of the game.
And Harlow able to find the back of the net. The third time in this series. Down low, of course, the shutout tendency that we've had in this series. The first team to score has won every single game. We'll see if that trend continues here. Tohtorit looking to get going. They like to dump it in. Oyala in control, tried the toe drag. Defense able to take it away. As Bakery shovels one towards goal. Here at the point again for EXEN. Bakery. Back for Wenger again. They were able to find Bakery quite a few times in that opening game of this broadcast here in game number 3. They got a lot of one-timers off. Not so much here in this one. Marcus tries to put one towards goal. Harlow, the one-timer, it was there for Profile Hockey, but he could not get the shot to the top corner, short side.
And that's going to be a goal that Profile Hockey is going to be thinking about tonight. He had all the room in the world over at that right side, but just shot it right into the glove of Bennu, who made that save.
We approach the final minute of play. Arcus being pushed back further into his own zone. Pass up ahead, doesn't go. Awkward bounce, nearly poked into trouble by Harlow.
And you wonder if they maybe pull Stammer just 3.7 seconds to go. Looks like they're not going to, but it wouldn't have been enough time for EXEN to make a move on the other end. So just curious if maybe Tohtorit will get aggressive or not.
Off the face-off. Crucial win there for EXEN. Well, we head to the third period. Tohtorit on top. So this goal from Harlow.
Yeah, I accidentally said Pro Filipaki earlier, but it was Harlow that got that goal, as you mentioned, and just that quick snap of the wrist that beat Bennu over on that right side near the glove hand. And you see what I'm talking about. There was a lot of room over on that blocker side. I would have been sure if that's where Harlow would have shot it, but hey, sometimes when you think someone's going to zig, you got to make them zag, and that's exactly what Harlow did on that play. Shot at that glove hand, was able to beat Bennu, and gives Tohtorit a 1-0 lead, which, you know, in most games, in most series, you wouldn't really think too much about just because it's just one goal, but remember, 2-0 win, 1-0 win, 1-0 win. Those have been the results so far in this series, with Tohtorit getting 2 of those 3 wins. So that one goal, that one shot, if history has told us anything in this series so far, could very well be the winner. So a massive, massive play there for Tohtorit, but this would have been even bigger, and you can see a lot of room there over at that top right corner for Pro Filipaki, just not able to be Bennu on that play. That's going to be what he wants to have back. Had a lot of space, and Bennu just got shot that one right into his glove.
Third period is underway. We'll walk away with the victory here in Game 4. If it is EXEN, they will tie this series up at 2 apiece. If it is Tohtorit, they will be 1 win away from making it to the semifinal round, winning Void to Matone.
First in the league there.
Interrupted there, Major. Nice opportunity there, though, for EXEN early on.
No worries. I was also saying, that'll be the first time that Tohtorit has ever made the semifinals in the Elite Division. They won the Pro Division Championship all the way back in ECL 23, but never have made it this far in the Elite Division. Got swept last season by EXEN in the quarterfinals, so a big opportunity here for this team and this club.
Movement there for Sega Sormi. That shot from the point doesn't find its way through. Sormi looking to step in. Play it safe. Three back for Wenger. Sormi shot. Locker down. Stammer picks up a goal. That one sent all the way up. Oyala. A little bit of space. Still holds on, then tries to pick the corner. Bennu's stuck with him.
Thought he maybe could have shot that a little bit earlier, but still a good opportunity there from Oyala.
Jackson's still in control. Wenger at the point for Domi. Lundstrom, low shot, handled well by Stammer, but you can see the heavy collapse there towards goal. Looking for that rebound, it just wasn't there.
Yeah, and I like the idea to try to go for that rebound shot because you just never know what can happen. You might get that second opportunity, and we see a lot of goals in this game, and NHL 25 can just be a matter of being at the right place at the right time. So when you're looking to try to tie this game up and goal scoring has just kind of been at a really premium price, there hasn't been a whole lot of opportunity, why not try to go for that rebound, maybe see if you can get that puck to fall your way?
Look at that opportunity, but again, Stammer able to hold it well. 11:53 to go. Puck bounces around off the feed in front. Oyala trying to find a little bit of space here. Shot for Harlow. That's save number 9 for Bennu in this game.
And 10:53 remaining. Again, that second goal, if we do get it, would be a massive one. EXEN trying to get that goal to tie this thing up and maybe push it to a extra period, or Tohtorit potentially maybe putting in the dagger in this one. That's another big shot on that for them.
Pass off the mark. EXEN back in control, but we are already halfway through this third period. Obviously weren't able to hold it for too long. Go for Lopaki in control. Carcass tries to throw it on from the point. Tohtorit, good pressure. Carcass holds on. There's a step in from Lundstrom. Good individual effort from the corner to the slot. But again, Stammer able to make a save.
And it feels like the offense has really opened up here for both sides. Both Stammer and Bennu have had to stand tall. Can they continue to do so for the next 7.5 minutes?
Off the draw. EXEN in control. And nearly a breakthrough there for Oyala. Five and a half minutes to go. EXEN need to find an answer here, or again, they will be facing elimination in Game 5. Only concluded series did end in 5 games. I mentioned Voitimatone. Friendly fire there. Voitimatone knocking out Mythics as bated breath there to see just how that one was going to be handled by Bennu. Back in control. Back. Wenger can't get that shot through. What a tremendous play to get that puck up to Oyala, but the defense there to take it away. 2 minutes to go in regulation. Harlow up ahead for Oyala. Tries to cut in. It was there. Final minute of play. Wenger has it knocked away by Carcass. EXEN need to find a way to score here, Major.
And do they think about pulling Bennu at some point, potentially, if they can him Tohtorit in their own zone, but they can't get in. They're stuck in the neutral zone and have to dump.
There's nearly trouble there. Carcass has it. Sends it to the far side for Oyala. Bit of a miscommunication. There's an icing, and 34 seconds. They might think that's too much time, but one could argue it was the time to pull the goalie. They elect not to.
I gotta be honest to you, I think I would have done it. You're down 2-1 in this series. You've not scored but 1 goal in a total of 4 games, including a game that went to double overtime. At this point, I think you just have to put all your priority towards scoring that goal, even if that means allowing the one. I mean, what's the difference between losing 1-0 and 2-0? You'll be down 3-1 the series anyways, and your 5-on-5 is not proven to be able to get a goal other than 1 time through 4 games. So, you know, I'm not an elite division player for a reason, but I gotta be honest with you, if it's me, I think I would have pulled here.
Off the draw, tie up, Lundstrom short side. Does not go. Wait to see if there's going to be a change in approach here. The answer is no.
Remember the face-offs. Mo's just struggled on face-offs. Harlow's been great on them.
Walk to the corner. Lundstrom for Domi. Harlow to Tohtorit. Now Lundstrom again. Domi for Wenger. Lundstrom can't get the shot off. 17 seconds left. Puck is cleared. And if you're looking for those one-timers, you know what would have helped? Having the goalie in front. By distraction, Tohtorit can't get that shot on target. Oyala chips it out. 2 seconds, 1 second, and Tohtorit get the win in game number 4. 4 games, 4 shutouts, his 3rd of the series for Stammer in one of the most bizarre series we have ever seen in Major. It's not done yet, but EXEN have been pushed to the brink.
And by the way, I just want to point something out, that if you were to combine Bennu and Stammer's stats from this season, in the regular season, they combined for 3 shutouts. And now this whole series has 4, and they have all 4. I mean, bizarre is probably the best way you could describe it. I mean, just a wild, wild series. 2-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. I mean, goal scoring has not been at a premium here in this series, and it's been entertaining to watch nevertheless, but Man, I can't help but to go back to the decision to not pull Bennu with that timeout with 34 seconds remaining. I mean, like I said, if it had been a situation where your 5-on-5 has been fine, you've been scoring goals, and by all means, don't pull the goalie. But I mean, in a situation where you've scored 1 goal in well over 200 minutes of play, what does it hurt to pull the goalie? I mean, what's the difference between losing 1-0 and losing 2-0? And potentially your season's on the line. I mean, like I said, I'm not an elite player for a reason. I try not to be too critical, but that's a decision that I don't understand. And you know, if it works out for EXEN, then I look foolish, and that would have been perfectly fine. But it's just just considering what we've seen in the series, just really, really surprised that EXEN did not pull the goalie and they elected to keep it 5-on-5. Tohtorit able to kind of close things off as they had been all game long, and it gives them a 1-0 win, and now just 1 victory away from their first Elite Division semifinals appearance.
Again, we talked about the, inconsistencies that you see with choosing to pull the goalie. I get you have confidence. Hey, 30 seconds left. That's plenty of time to score. But in a series like this, well, not necessarily. And that is now the 3rd time in this series. All 3 Tohtorit wins, all 4 wins in general in the series have been through a shutout. But again, I just can't help but think back to it, right? Like, if you're going to look for those one-timers to get those wingers a bit further out, what helps is to have that extra distraction in front that the defense has to account for. They elected not to go for it. It is what it is at this point. Tohtorit up 3-1 in this series. Game 5 coming up. It is win or go home for EXEN at this point. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Game 5 starts in just a few moments.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Trying to switch it up a little bit to give yourself that extra let out.
Good protection. Harlow score. A top shelf snipe out of nowhere. Take it away. Hickory shovels one towards goal. Marcus tries to put one towards goal. Harlow, the one-timer. It was that. Pass up the head, doesn't go. Awkward bounce, nearly poked into trouble. Back for Wenger. Only shot, blocker down. Sent all the way up. Oyala, a little bit of space. Still holds on, then tries to pick the corner. Step in from Lundstrom. Good individual effort from the corner to the slot.
If it's me, I think I would have pulled it.
Off the draw, tie up, Lundstrom short side. Oh, the Hickory, now Lundstrom again. Domi for Wenger. Lundstrom can't get the shot.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
And welcome back, everybody. A big thank you for sticking with us here at SportsGamer. It is game number 5. Tohtorit now up 3-1 in this series. It is their first opportunity trying to close things out here. As EXEN a win in game 3. Only one that they've had so far, and again, must win from this point on. Shot there and a save by Bennu. Good counter save. Stammer as he's forced to cover that one.
Thought for a second we were maybe going to get shades of game 3. First shot of the game for EXEN leading to the first and only goal of the game, but a nice job there from Stammer locking that in. You said it, Toogie. You wonder if the desperation kind of seeps in for EXEN in this game. If there's a time to adjust, you do it now since your season's on the line every game forward.
Up, down low, kick back to the point. Peakery still getting back to his feet. Oyala now over the line. Good protection, better defense from Wenger. Oja not able to work his way through. Sent down. Foot race. Tohtorit wins. Hip checked off the puck by Domi. EXEN tried to get going down the other way, but Landstrom a step ahead.
And that's going to be something I'm really interested to see, is maybe if this game style changes a little bit with the series now being where it is. Does EXEN maybe try to switch something up and just pound shots on that, or do we continue to see this kind of conservative defense first approach from both sides where you have good, great, elite goaltenders backing you up on the other end?
It's a shot, they score! The bounce off the back wall, a quick shot. And Profilipaki kicks off the scoring. I didn't even see where that puck ended up actually going.
I want to say it went past the blocker of Bennu, but we'd have to get a closer replay to confirm it. But, I mean, that seemed like a relatively harmless play. I mean, it was dumped inside, and then Profilipaki, he was able to beat, I believe it was Domi, on the race to that puck, and he just kind of snapped it in past Bennu, and he wasn't able to make the save. So a very quick, sudden play that looked rather harmless leads to a goal for Tohtorit. And Toogie, we've seen how big that first goal can be in this series, so that is a massive, massive play there for Tohtorit looking to seal this series here.
We often don't like to say the word in the middle of a game, but I'm not saying it in this context. There's a chance for Baker. He picked blocker save. I'm not going to say it at all, given that they immediately got that opportunity. It's just the mere hint of it.
If you had said it, we know what would happen.
Another stop there by Stammer. And that one loose in front. Profilipaki able to settle it down. 9 minutes to go here in the first period. A 1-0 lead for Tohtorit. A shot, they score! And you have to ask the question, based off the first 4 games of this series, will that be enough? Right place, right time, and no mistake from Oyala on the finish.
You said it there, Toogie. Right place, right time, as it looked like it was going to be well defended there by EXEN, but that puck just squeaks through to the fence to get to Oyala, who was left wide open there for that breakaway. He beats Bennu. That's a tough save, a tough play for your goalie to have to make. And I mean, you said it, 2-0, that's the largest lead we've seen all series, and that was the final result of game one. We've not seen both teams score a goal yet in these games, so if history tells us anything, Tohtorit's in a good position, but we've seen some crazy flips happen in these series before. EXEN's going to need to happen now.
Good save by Stammer. And another one there, already up to 5 saves. First 14 minutes of this game.
That's another part of this too. Stammer has been absolutely phenomenal and nearly unbeatable. How do you find 3 goals if you're EXEN when you've only been able to find 1 in the first 4 games combined? There is a lot going against this EXEN team right now and a lot in the favor of Tohtorit.
Pikaria shot, and Stammer again able to handle it.
And Tohtorit, their 2 goals have kind of come on the rush and very quick opportunities. I think they still are going to have to try to keep their foot on the gas pedal. You don't want to allow EXEN to get some offense going just because you don't want to play with fire too much. You have that 2-goal lead, and that's great, and that's been enough in the first 4 games, but you never know when it's not going to be enough anymore. You don't want to give any team that much time to try to find their way to 2 or 3 goals. So if you're Tohtorit, you know, great and all that you have the 2-0 lead, but you still want to try to alleviate a little bit of that pressure on Stammer because he's seen a lot of it so far early on.
Early timeout. Looks like we should continue here. Domi. Or Wenger back to the point. Oyala the pick off. Is he going to have the separation pace? Gets around Domi, who just kept spamming the body check there, and it worked out for him.
Look at that forecheck from EXEN. Unrelenting.
At this point, you said you have no choice, right? I mean, your season's on the line. It's all or nothing here. Getting down 2-0 early is not what they had in mind. Backed off the back of the cage. Final minute of this first period. Puck down low. That shot blocked. Go for the Pocky. Nearly got it to Oyala. He's unlucky to not get the pickup. One more chance, does not go. The picture perfect start for Tohtorit. 2 goals on the board. We head to the second period.
And who would have thought, Tugi, that we would see 2 goals in 1 period in the way that the series has gone? I mean, so surprising, honestly, when we had been struggling to find a goal through a lot of these games, but Tohtorit, with the exact start that they needed to have, they wanted to wrap this series up and put it in the books, and so far they look pretty good and pretty on their way to doing that. Obviously still 40 more minutes of in-game work to do, but a great start, and really all of it just from them being opportunistic, just really quick, all of a sudden chances that led to goals, while for EXEN, despite some of the shots, despite some of the pressure, just not really able to find a whole lot to go in the back of the net. That's been the story for them all season long, and unfortunately for them, unless it can change over these next 2 periods, could very well be the end of their season.
Second period about ready to begin. One Locketsy brings you the action as always here. It is game number 5 of this quarterfinals matchup. Tohtorit up 2-0 in this game. A good save by Stammer. Up 3-1 in the series. And of course, their netminder for the biggest reason as to why. That one ends up wide of the post. EXEN find the breakthrough that they need. Desperate trouble here. Onstrom able to hold on to it. Again, another one just wide of the post. Great pressure to kick off this period for EXEN. Have to be careful of the counterattacks, though. Profilipaki for Harlow. Save by Bennu. Down the other way, Landstrom tried to cut into the short side. Stammer was there.
If Stammer can just continue to play the way he has been, he's got his team set up in a really good position. Again, I still think Tohtorit need to find a way to get a little bit of offensive pressure going, even if they can't score. Just that possession time is valuable because it doesn't allow EXEN to give themselves an opportunity to creep back into this game. But the goaltending, once again, has been spectacular. But Tohtorit keeping EXEN alive. A delayed penalty here coming up.
Lundstrom can't get the feed in front. Tremendous, tremendous opportunity. And a must score at this point. There's still plenty of time left in this game, but this is your opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean, it feels odd to say that a power play is a must score when you're just in the early to middle stages of the second period, but I gotta agree with you, Tugi. This is a power play that EXEN cannot afford to squander, and remember, they've struggled on the power play at around 15% in the regular season, so if there's any time for them to find it, they've got to do it now.
That one, fortunate bounce. Oyola able to clear as well. Only going to add to the frustration here. There's bakery for Domi. Anger again. Moja, the extra pass. Defense was there. The argument will be, hey, it's really tough to snipe a goaltender. That's why we make the extra passes, but sometimes that's confirmation bias. It's tough to snipe a goaltender. How often are you actually trying to do so? In these situations, but Lundstrom does find the back of the nets. And for the first time in this series, this game will not end in a shutout.
Yeah, and you get the look, just the quick kind of passing, the 1-2 between the left side pairing of Domi and Lundstrom, and Lundstrom just able to kind of put that one quickly on net, that close quarters ability helping him out a little bit to beat Stammer. And I mean, you said it there, Tugi, sometimes you just gotta put that puck on net. I know it's difficult to snipe a goalie, but look at how some of these goals have gone in. They've been snipes on the glove side, on the blocker side, things of that nature. Sometimes you just have to try to stray away from that one-time play, and it worked out there for EXEN to get them on the board.
That one paddled away. Goal for Lundstrom, finally getting his first of the series. Moja. For Domi, Lundstrom again, loose puck, Stammer. Pounce on it.
And now all of a sudden for Tohtorit, you don't want to get too over anxious, but at the same time, now you're in a situation that's much different from 2-0 to 2-1, and EXEN able to find a goal here. So again, you need to find some offense here. You've got to get a little bit of pressure because EXEN has been pretty unrelenting so far since going down 2-0, and really throughout most of this game. Most of the possession time and most of the attack has been from EXEN, and Stammer and the defense have just been able to make plays, but they've got to try to counter with some offense of their own sooner rather than later. If you play with fire too long, you're going to get burned eventually.
One-timer, great stop by Stammer. As EXEN are starting to find that space again for these odd-angle one-timers.
Really familiar to game 3, period 1, where they were finding a lot of these one-timers, and that was Peakerty right there that they found, who they kept going for in that stretch.
As Karkas able to win this one, numbers here. Karkas looking, short side, good save by Bennu.
Great job from Bennu reading that play, knew the defense had the pass covered, took that shot, and was able to make the save. That's great goaltending there.
Pick off by Harlow. 5.5 minutes left in the period. EXEN back in this game to 1, and there's a goal for Tohtorit. That pushes it right back to a 2-goal lead. The one-timer from Pro Filipaki.
It's what both teams have been eyeing and have been looking for all series long, and Pro Filipaki is the trailer. Sets himself up perfectly, and watch that little stop that he did right after they all crossed the blue line. He stops just a little bit to get some of that separation. The defense continues to go with the puck carrier and the passing option to the left. It leaves Pro Filipaki wide open for that trailing pass, and he rips that one-timer. Not a whole lot you can do about that as a goalie. Bennu pretty much helpless on that play, and a massive goal as EXEN, right when they thought they had something, Tohtorit take it away.
Pressure back on for EXEN here. Nearly as many goals in this game as we've seen in the series combined thus far.
Just one off. 5 compared to 4.
In the corner now, Domi at the point, can't get that shot through. EXEN, I mean, really, in fairness, both sides would love to get one more goal here before the end of the period. Lundstrom for Domi. Wenger back to him. Good poke check from Oyala. Wenger keeps it alive. From Lundstrom, blocked. 10 seconds left. Lundstrom tried to feed in front. Sega Stormy's there. Puck rolling all the way down. And that will do it for the second period. Tohtorit a 3-1 lead. As for EXEN, this is it. Do or die. Only 20 minutes left that are guaranteed in your season.
Yeah, it's do or die, and I think now is where you kind of just have to throw anything and everything you can. You're down by 2. If you lose this game, your season is over, like you said, Toogie. And I think now you're at a point, if you're EXEN, you kind of do just have to throw everything you possibly can at Tohtorit. Every shot, every play, every opportunity. I don't care if you want all 5 guys to go up at the same time. You've got to try to find something, because it doesn't matter if you lose 3-1. It doesn't matter if you lose 9-1. If you lose, your season is over. So EXEN's going to have to try to dig deep and find something. But, I mean, how about Tohtorit finding their goal scoring, and the biggest goal of the game being that third? Just finding a way, just continuing to find a way to get timely goal scoring and capitalizing on the opportunities that they've had, even if they've been few and far between. It's really been the difference between these two teams in the series, and it could very well see Tohtorit making it to the semifinals for the first time in their club's history.
Third period, all or nothing for EXEN, down by 2. Of course, you know Tohtorit's certainly going to be looking for yet another goal here. They will have space on counterattacks, at least in theory, knowing that EXEN have to be that much more aggressive. And immediately, Wenger was aggressive, trying to keep that puck alive. Ikari for Moja across the tap-in, denied by the defense. Now Oyala taking his time with the space he has. Tried to find Harlow, but the defense there yet again. He dumps this one into the right side corner, and again a quick exit. Tohtorit upon recovery. These two teams just trading possessions through the neutral zone, but not able to get established. For example, there off the turnover from Domi. His pace certainly benefiting Tohtorit right now. 5 minutes already gone. Quarter of the way there. Wenger can't hold it, and there is the counter. Oyala, breakaway, scores! And that just might do it for Tohtorit to secure a spot in the semifinal.
And great defense can sometimes lead to great offense, and you saw it right there. Tohtorit making the play on the defensive end. They were able to get past EXEN on that quick counterattack. Oyala wide open for that breakaway, and he had all the time and space in the world to make whatever move he wanted. That's the toughest breakaway position to be in as a goaltender, because you have no one and nothing to fall back on but your own guessing ability and your own ability to be in position. Bennu just not able to guess right on that play, and Tohtorit look well on their way, maybe driving, cruising their way home, as Oyala was there on that celebration, to a semifinals appearance.
4-1 the score line, and indeed we now have equaled total goals from the series thus far. The first 4 games, we've equaled it here in this game alone. I mean, at times it felt like, maybe we weren't due for a game like this, but I can't say I'm overly surprised that we finally had a game where the offense is able to break out.
I mean, it kind of felt like it had to happen at some point, right? I mean, just with the talent of both of these two teams, you kind of just felt like something was going to have to give. Goalies were making crazy saves. There were a lot of breaks that just didn't go the way for either offense. And it's not that either of these two teams are necessarily amongst the league's best offensively, but they have plenty of offensive ability. We've seen it throughout the regular season. It's just that none of them really shown it. I mean, individually, we've seen these guys really step up offensively in the past, and it just hadn't come out really until right now. And fortunately for Tohtorit, it's come out for them.
Zoila tried to go across, and well, not to write the EXEN obituary already for their season, but Major, that's going to be the key talking point should this scoreline hold. Is this is a team with incredibly talented players, championship winners, both in the sixes side of things and the 1v1 side of things. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't meshed this season the way that it looks like it could have on paper, especially from that goal scoring standpoint. Is a good save there by Stammer. Just makes me wonder what the future for these, primary five skaters and the two goalies, what it will be, because it is, again, what should be an incredibly competitive and talented team, and they were projected by many to be a top 4 team by the end of the regular season, but it just hasn't clicked.
Yeah, and I mean, not only were they projected to be a top 4 team, but I mean, I think a lot of people had it pretty much penciled in, like, okay, it's going to be EXEN and Parasite, at least in the semifinals, could potentially end up being in the finals. I mean, I remember during one of the first weeks of the season, too, you and I, we were on the call for Parasite versus EXEN in the regular season, and we were saying that a lot of people felt like this was a potential championship preview of what we would see at Assembly in just about a month's time, and yet here we are. EXEN had to scratch and claw their way to make it into the playoffs. They were one of the worst goal-scoring teams in the league throughout the season, and it's just really surprising to see with how much talent is on this team. And again, it just hasn't clicked. And it's not like these are guys that have never played together before. Remember this, Peakerty, Mosja, Vanger, they've all played together. This isn't a team that was just randomly thrown together. They just have not performed. And I mean, as you mentioned, it just kind of makes you wonder what these next couple of months are going to look like from a roster standpoint, because it just hasn't worked and nothing has seemed to change.
A team that wasn't randomly thrown together, but if they were, you put money on that being one of the top teams. But
yeah,
it is what it is for the EXEN side of things. Their season is going to end here and now, which means we get to shift our focus over to Tohtorit. And like you said, this is a big step forward for them, locking down the 2 seed in the regular season over some great clubs as well, the likes of Bustakalta and Voitimatone. And now for the first time, Major, they are going to find themselves in the semifinals as they knock out EXEN in 5 games.
And congratulations to Tohtorit, because I think it's easy for people to kind of forget where this Tohtorit team was just a couple of years ago. This was a team that was in the pro division. They were not in the elite division. They were in pro. They won a pro championship in ECL Winter 23, and then their first season in the elite division in spring 23, they finished 13th in the league, and they had to win a relegation series to even stay up here. And they took a break for a season, and they came back last season and really shocked a lot of people, and were able to get into that top 4 and really find their way into the playoffs. And they returned all of those players from that starting lineup last season, and really the conversation was like, okay, that was a nice little run Tohtorit had a season ago, but NHL 25 being a completely different game, the landscape of the elite division completely changing and completely altering. I think a lot of people were kind of wondering if maybe that run that they had last season, especially considering that they got swept by EXEN in the quarterfinals, whether it was a fluke. Maybe if they were just a regular season team that was beating up on teams that just weren't as good as them, and they responded with not only being a top 4 team again, but improving their record and being the number 2 seed and making pretty quick and pretty light work of EXEN in this playoff series. So it just goes to show you, we talk about it all the time, Toogie, how teams rising through the ranks, sticking with it, growing, developing, honing, and just making it happen, climbing that ladder, is one of the things that makes the ECL what it is. It's a part of the draw, it's a part of the allure. And Tohtorit, a team that, again, kind of had to start from the bottom and climb their way up, now can say that they've won a playoff series in this division against multiple, multi-time Elite Division champions, and now we'll be looking forward to a semifinals date next week.
Well, Major, we always kind of talk about it. It's never officially official, but in terms of the key player in that series, I don't think there's going to be any disagreement from you. What a standout performance by Stammer. As you mentioned, nearly unbeatable at times. Surrendered just 2 goals in this series.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you say about him? He was just absolutely phenomenal from start to finish in this series. And the thing, too, is that neither of the 2 goals that he gave up were weak goals by any stretch of the imagination. Remember, Stammer in 28 games had an 86 save percentage. So this is not surprising to see him put up numbers like this. I think he's someone that over the last couple of seasons has really proven that he is in the conversation for being one of the best goalies in this division. I personally think that he's someone that's going to get a lot of votes and a lot of consideration for goaltender of the year, as he probably should. And he is a massive reason that Tohtorit are where they are, a massive reason that they were able to win this series. And, again, a lot of the talk going to be surrounded by EXEN just because of how high expectations were. There's no question that this was a disappointing run for them for start to finish, but I think that a lot of the attention should go towards Tohtorit, not just because of the series win, but just from where they've started, where their journey has gone, and now for them to be in their first semifinals in this division, absolutely massive. And hey, now we are in a position to where they could be looking at a trip to Assembly here in just a few weeks' time, something that I don't think a lot of people would have thought about this team just a year ago.
Again, our live final coming up, as Major mentioned, at Assembly in Helsinki in just a little bit over a month's time. We'll see who makes it there. Voitimatone and Tohtorit, both one step closer. Of course, we'll be continuing our broadcast coverage throughout this week. Wednesday and Thursday, we finish up the other 2 quarterfinals matchups. But again, tomorrow, I'll be right back here on the call for another bit of our Pro Division spotlight as, well, the Pro Division is off to a wild start to the playoffs. Both number 1 seeds knocked out, whether it be a pure upset or a team like No Street having some lineup issues. But hey, upsets are upsets, and these two all of a sudden here are both potentially primed to make a really strong run. But the Hervlev Eagles trail 2-0 to Otukset in the second round series between those 2 teams in the quarterfinals. I'll be covering the rest of that series right here tomorrow here on this very same channel. So make sure to tune in for that as we continue, as always, our Tuesday Pro Division spotlights. And then again, on Wednesday and Thursday, we are back to finish up our other 2 series. Look at the bracket there. Of course, it is Parasite up 2-0 on Goons. And of course, now we know Tohtorit has advanced. The other series, of course, will be Mustakalta and the Blackjacks. Both of those series also a 2-0 lead. So still got some things to decide here, Major, but it's going to be a fun week to see, especially here in the Elite Division, who moves on to the Final Four.
Yeah, and I think something else that's really interesting too is that confirms that we're going to have 2 teams in the semifinals that have never been there before. Tohtorit now making their first appearance, and no matter who wins the Boost the Cool to Blackjack series, that'll be either side's first appearance in the semifinals as well. The Blackjacks, who obviously have been longing to try to get there after 3 or 4 different attempts, Musta Kulta in their first ever season in the Elite Division. So that's another cool little storyline about this too, Tugi, is that we have some teams that are kind of making their presence known, that they are in that championship contending conversation. And that was kind of the big talking point into this season, right? Tunnel Vision, the defending champs, not being a team anymore. It kind of left that window wide open for some of these new teams and some fresh blood to have their way into the semifinals. I think a lot of people knew Voitimatone would be a team that likely sees their way there, barring any surprises, and obviously Parasite the same. But again, there was a lot of potential and room for movement, and we've seen that come to fruition so far. Congratulations to Tohtorit, and I'm sure these last 2 series of Parasite and Goons, which has been a good series despite the 2-0 deficit the Goons are in, and then Musta Kulta and the Blackjacks, Both series, I think, will give us some pretty fun hockey and some pretty interesting results to head into the semifinals with next week.
A tremendous start to the postseason for Tohtorit, Stammer, and the boys getting the job done here in round one. See them in the semifinals. But for now, until tomorrow, everybody, with our Pro Division coverage, thank you all so much for watching. As always, sportsgamer.gg to follow along with everything going on throughout the ECL ladder. Until tomorrow, one more time, thanks again, and we'll see you then.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
With Moja, one-timer, they score!
Hopping at the bit to try to get it. Get that momentum back on your side.
Down low, kick back to the point. Marcus fires one on, deflects, picked up another one-timer for Peakery, finding space. Great save. Continue to look for Peakery. There's a one-timer on seconds left. One-timer from the point. Glove save. And that will do it. Lundstrom. Back down for Moja. Was he slashed? There might be 2 penalties here. Moja drops for Wenger. Only for Lundstrom. Blocked by the defense. Just held up. Oh, yeah. Back for him. One-timer and another save. Both defenders, the ones down low here. Stepping in, the feed in front, bouncing puck, tries the short side, a little bit of pressure here for Tohtorit. Oyala wanted to go back to Pro Filipaki. Anchor back down for Peakery, wanted to go to the point. Puck goes all the way down. And then a little bit of trouble there. It ended up opening. Going to Carcass at the point. Pass, Filipaki shot.
Tohtorit, they're starting to find their game, but they're going to have to ramp up the aggression. You see them forechecking now. They've got to try to force something here.
A broken stick on the one-timer. Frustration has to be mounting for Tohtorit. Space here for EXEN. Short side attempt. Big glove. Filipaki back to Tarkus at the point. Fake the shot, intentionally or not. Still has control. One-timer, loose puck in front. Still kept out. EXEN not able to clear. Shot on, saved, and covered by Bennu. A reversal of fortunes from being shut out over the first 2 games, or on the first shot of the game, and that is enough as Bennu steps into the series and records the shutouts.
And trying to switch it up a little bit to give yourself that extra let out.
Good protection. Harlow score. A top shelf snipe out of nowhere. Take it away. As Peakery shovels one towards goal. Marcus tries to put one towards goal. Harlow, the one-timer, it was them. Pass up the head, doesn't go. Awkward bounce, nearly poked into trouble. Peakery back for Wenger. Omi shot, blocker down. Sent all the way up. Oyala, a little bit of space. Still holds on, then tries to pick the corner. Step in from Lundstrom. Good individual effort from the corner to the slot.
If it's me, I think I would have pulled here.
Off the draw, tie up. Lundstrom short side. Oh, the Peakery, now Lundstrom again. Domi for Wenger. Lundstrom can't get the shot. They score! The bounce off the back wall. Often don't like to say the word in the middle of a game, but I'm not saying it in this context. There's a chance for Peakery. Big blockers lead for Tohtorit. A shot, they score!
It's going to need to happen now.
Good save by Stammer. And another one there, already up to great pressure to kick off this period for EXEN. Have to be careful of the counterattacks, though. Profilipaki for Harlow, save. Are you actually trying to do so? In these situations, but Lundstrom does find the back of the nets.
Or in that stretch.
As Arcus able to win this one. Numbers here. Arcus looking, short side, good save. EXEN back in this game 2-1, and there's a goal for Tohtorit. That pushes it right back to Omi. Wenger back to him. Good poke check from Oyala. Wenger keeps it alive. From Lundstrom, counterattacks, at least in theory, knowing that EXEN had to be that much more aggressive, and immediately Wenger was aggressive, trying to keep that puck alive. Ikari for Moja across. That's Wenger can't hold it, and there is the counter. Oyala breakaway scores. This season, the way that it looks like it could have on paper, especially from that goal scoring standpoint, is a good save there by Stammer.